The Marvel Legends Spider-Man No Way Home 3-pack is finally here. Let's take a look at these figures. First off, let's look at Tobey, because obviously he's first. I made a video when this was first revealed discussing my thoughts and concerns about the figure, but having it in hand, it's awesome. My problem was the head sculpt, which I still don't love, not because it's bad, but because it's based on the most recent film rather than the original trilogy. The body sculpt, on the other hand, is insane. It's almost import figure quality. I'm amazed at how well they did the webs. They're not perfect, but they're much better than I thought they were going to be. One thing I don't like is the articulation. It's not horrible, but for a Spider-Man figure, it's just about the bare minimum. The standard for good Spider-Man articulation is the retro card-back Spidey from 2020. I think every Spider-Man figure should have this articulation scheme. The Tobey figure has a very similar articulation scheme on first glance, but they didn't cut away nearly enough material at the top of the legs, and the crotch piece starts to dig in on the thighs on extreme poses. You can see looking at both figures, the retro Spidey has a lot more clearance. Also, the butterfly joints on Tobey are basically just for show. Next up is Andrew. Let's address the elephant in the proverbial room. He's way too dark. Honestly, it's hard to see him sometimes without the studio lights. Despite all that, I still really like this figure. The sculpt is absolutely fantastic. He might be a little long, but it's not that bad. It has the same problems as the Tobey figure as far as articulation goes. I wish they would have put in some boot swivel. I find it easier to get poses with that little bit of extra movement. Also, like on the Tobey figure, the butterfly joints are basically useless. And finally, let's look at Tommy Boy. This is a rough figure. The Marvel Legends Tom Holland figures have never looked very good to me. They're awkwardly proportioned, they're not articulated well, and my biggest problem, the head. The head sculpt on this thing hurts. It's so elongated and way too big in proportion to the body. This was also their second go around with this suit, and it's still not film accurate. The gauntlet things don't even appear in the movie, and you can't just remove them either because then there's a big gap on the lower arms where the gauntlets are supposed to go. They could have made this a decent figure if they resculpted the head and lower arms, made the hands smaller, and painted the webs black instead of dark gray. I want to correct some mistakes I made on the last Tobey video. I was speculating why the mask looked weird, and I couldn't figure out exactly why it looked off, but a comment from Reshov27, I don't know if that's how you say it, but he pointed out that it's because the mask from No Way Home has more web lines on the bottom half of the mask than the original trilogy had. After reading this, I scoured the suit for any other differences, but as far as I can tell, they're basically the same other than the masks and the muscle suit. I should have noticed that myself, but I'm a fake fan.